Hey, we are not boring here. So a non-local man drove his car in the ditch in a desolated area. And a farmer came by and said, I can go home and get my horse, Buddy. He's strong enough to pull you out of the ditch. And the guy was most appreciative. And so he brings the horse back, Buddy, and he hooks him up to the back of the car. And he says, pull out the car, Sammy. Buddy doesn't move. Pull out the car, Coco. Buddy doesn't move. Pull out the car, George. Buddy doesn't move. Buddy, pull out the car. And he pulls the car right out of the ditch. And the guy was most appreciative. And he said, you know, I don't understand. You called your horse by 3 wrong names. He said, well, Buddy's blind. And if he thought he was doing that all by himself, I would never be able to motivate him. Okay? Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And isn't that something, though? I mean, really. And there's so much truth to that, isn't there? And, you know, in Scripture, it's a lot about being blind is mentioned often, actually. More than a physical blind. And I don't have a knowing of what that's like, and I bless anyone that does. But there's also the other type of blind, where something's right in front of us, and we have the inability to see it. There's a couple of things that I have found in my own life that can keep me blinded to emerging into something new or possible. And one is when I immediately, when somebody tells me something, I say, I know that. I know that. Oh, I know. Oh, I've known that since 1974. And you want to say, and when are you going to apply it? Did I say that? Okay, so we can be so quick in our humanity to go, oh, I know, or take one person's opinion and say, because that one person out of almost 8 billion people told me so. We don't interview them. We don't ask them how you know. We just say they know, so that's what I know. Are you with me? Does anybody else ever do that? 3 of you. Yeah. The rest of you are on the protection program and you don't want to be seen. I get it. Anyhow, so there's that level. So my ask for you is, as you're moving through life this week and next week and the season and all that, is when people want to share something with you, rather than shut them down by saying, I know, say, tell me more. Let's practice. Tell me more. Tell me more, because there's a wisdom, there's an encounter, there's something that's wanting to occur, you know, that is in that energetic field. So also the willingness to step out of an old way of thinking, to have a new possibility of what is possible, or to take other people and put them in more consideration than you do yourself. Because in order to be the light, it's measured by your consciousness first and foremost. And that's why we have invested this time in the program, these weeks, you too can be prosperous. The other part about Buddy and pulling by himself is we're fortunate because we don't have to do anything by ourselves. We have a community that reminds us all the time not how to think, but what to think for ourselves. Yes, we have people here that when we see them, it reminds us of something greater, of what is possible for each other. Are you with me? Does this work for you today? Shall I keep going? Okay. All right. There's a story of, it's an ancient story, but it talks about what we're studying in chapter 5 and 6 of the book. You too can be prosperous. It's about 2 brothers that steal sheep. and they're caught in the local town. And they decided what they would do for the punishment is they would brand on their forehead ST, as in sheep thief. Stay with me. Sheep thief. ST, right? And so one brother can't get over that he's put himself in this position. He feels so humiliated. He feels so impossible. He feels so shameful that for the rest of his life, he can never get past the act that he did and the one mistake. Whereas the other brother decided, well, with this brand on my forehead, ST, and what I have endured, I think my lesson has been learned. And so he goes about his life. He makes a commitment to be a better person. And through the years, life goes on, and nobody really remembers any kind of story. But one day a newcomer comes into town and said, what is it with this guy with this ST on his forehead? The man goes, I don't know. That was a long time ago. But I think it's the abbreviation for saint. Yes. Shirley MacLaine said, our mistakes, we don't make mistakes. Our mistakes make us. And when we have invited, when we talk about consciousness and we talk about creating and co-creating and then something comes into our lives and we go, where did that come from? And we disassociate from it and we go, how is that possible? I'm so nice and I'm this wonderful person. How could that happen to me? And we fail to own it of how am I going to grow from this experience? Because I'm really working towards becoming more light. I'm really working towards becoming more alive. And that one particular thing, those particular things that feel like a real inconvenience in my life, allow me the freedom to step into sainthood of being the light. Does that make sense to you? And it's walking through that. It's emerging into that. It's the space of that. Whether it's an ailment, a physical issue, a child that's 40 that won't grow up in your life, whatever, it's on you now. Whatever it is, yes, it's about that. Like, how did you get to be in my life? And one of the things that I learned as a student and still learn, depending on the day of the week and the year it is and what's going on, is that there are many phases in life. And one of the phases that people go through is the to me phase. It looks like this. How could God do that to me? How could the universe do that to me? Why is this happening to me? And that just deepens the victim. It deepens the issue. It deepens it creates this inability. We're blinded, really, because we have forgotten in the moment. And that knowing isn't coming in. It's not shocking us. So how is this happening to me? And why is creation doing this to me? And the beauty of why most of us are here is in a unity or science of mind or open thought or Buddhism or other aspects, is we look at the energy of, I want a God that's for me. Yes. Whether I'm gay or whether I'm in recovery or whether I'm trans or whether I'm family or whether I'm wealthy or whether don't know who I am yet, I want a God that's for me. And that's the awesomeness of our teaching. If we had the capacity, when we have the capacity to get that through to every living thing on the planet. Because nature within itself knows that God is for me. Say that with me. God is for me. And of course, we go deeper with meditation. We go deeper with our practices. We go deeper with vibrant living. We go deeper with courses that we take to learn that God is not out there pulling for us, but in here. And we are being pulled by it. Do you see the distinction? And then it's God as me. So it's the phases of life. Edwin Gaines, I think you picked up by now that I really admire her a lot. To go from being a person that couldn't afford a jar of pickles and holes in her shoes to teaching the 4 laws of prosperity, to someone that lived it, lives it, still living it, successful, energy, healthy relationships, all of that. But she said that when she was emerging into the God being there for her and emerging into the God in me, that she said, God, okay, here's the thing. I'm your lady, and my name is Edwin, and what do you want me to do? And she said, and God said back to her, Edwin, I'm your God. You tell me what to do. You tell me what to do. And that, as best of my own interpretation with every chapter we have addressed in this book, it's about declaring, it's about affirming, it's about stating, it's about knowing, and it's about continuing to grow into that space. Yes? And so in that energy, it does remind me, because I like examples that I can wrap my head around and I go, oh, I get that. I get that in a way that helps me. And so one of those ways is the photocopy machine. Because when you bring your sheet of paper on the photocopy machine and you can say, print 25 copies, the photocopy machine prints whatever you put on it. So you can bring to life 25 things that you haven't been happy about for a very long time. And the photocopy machine will not say, are you sure you want us to print more of this? No. It just push, print. Oh, let's look at all your obstacles and your challenges and let's just print more of that. Or, I feel brand new today. I actually do. I don't know if the sun's like shocking me or what, but it's like, I have those days, do you? Where you got to get up every morning, smile on your face and show the world. Anyway, you feel awake, yes? And those are the days to really print on that photocopy machine. Those are the days to print a lot of copies, to immerse yourself in that energy, to multiply the synergy of the divine that is occurring and happening in your life. In the book, it talks about you can have the wealth of cattle on 1,000 hills. Meaning, it's not about cows. It's about multiplication. It's about you can have more health, you can have more wealth, you can have more friends, you can have more joy. It's about all of that. It's all about that. And the issue often in the 35 years I've been teaching some level of prosperity and knowing and wanting to live it more and more in my own life, in that space, we have the tendency to focus on the one area that isn't working instead of the 8,200 that are. Do you get me? Everybody breathe. I felt that. Everybody went, you talking to me? Yeah. And sometimes me. So that is an exercise that the book says clearly is to make a list in your life of what is right about your life and what you think is wrong about your life. And you will notice that what is wrong is here and what is right is there. You've heard me say many times, just the fact that we survived ourselves is a miracle. Right? Something greater than us has our back. That's for sure. That's a knowing. And in the teaching, it was describing that when God went to Solomon and said, you can have anything you want. Anything you want. And Solomon said, I want wisdom. I want to be wise. And with his wisdom, his own wisdom, not some wisdom that was trendy that he copied from somebody else. not the 4-step wisdom that, somebody did their thing with it, but his own inner wisdom. And he went on to accomplish and become very wealthy in all areas that matter. See, we don't need to poo-poo the fact that in wealth, we're not just talking about dollars or investments. And we're proud to talk about that. Because if you're not proud to talk about it, more than likely you don't have it. Yes? Can I get an amen? Amen. Or should I do Reverend Kathy? Now, friends, I know what I'm talking about. Let's give Reverend Kathy some love. She's listening somewhere. But in that energetic space. And so the other way that we can be blinded is that, in my opinion, we spend too much time in our lives feeling like we must forgive other people. Where the shortcut is. You want to know the shortcut? Would you like to know the this is worth a lot. Like a separate collection at the end. Are you with me? Everybody went, oh my God, where are we going now? Okay. The shortcut for forgiving other people is to spend all of your time on forgiveness, forgiving you. Forgive you. Starting here, starting now. Forgive you for misunderstanding. Forgive you for tattoos you put on yourself of unworthiness. Forgive you for, as the song said, that the things your parents did, they don't have anything to do with you. Unless you bought into it, unless you went and bought it. Forgive you for any misleading, for any tattoo, for anything stealing sheep. Forgive yourself for anything. And when you do, and then you come back around and you go, oh, but I did that to, what did I do to that person? Because you've been healed. It no longer is applicable. And you lighten up about everything and everyone around you because, as Reverend Kathy says, we're no longer living in self-righteousness. We're living in the rightness of living. And so we forgive us for anything, even allowing somebody to lead us in the wrong direction, or allowing someone to discount us, or allowing someone to think they're bigger than we are, energetically speaking. We allowed it. And so, isn't this fun? Yeah, it is true, though. It's really true. I was called into ICU. I believe I told this before, but it fits today, so I'm doing it again. I was called into ICU for a woman that her son had been a youthful diabetic, and let's say he's in his 40s now. I didn't know him, never met him, but she invited me to come to ICU to pray with him. And the greatest lesson I have learned in life about being there for people under hospice, being there for the end of their life, being there when I'm called for last rites, is I feel like this is the last right time to put some good energy and mojo into a person. And I walk in there and I look at them like they are so full of life and they're not going anywhere except out the door and living their life. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't ever approach that someone is dying. I approach that people are further living. Because they are going to, much to their surprise, they take them wherever they're going. We're not going to get out of being with ourselves. Isn't that fascinating? Anyhow, so here he is, ICU, all these cords. And so I walk in, obviously say hello to her and etc. And I just kind of feel his energy. And I put my hand on his chest and I said, "Forgive him, Great Spirit. Forgive him. That he needs to forgive himself. Because he's been taking his life for granted. Forgive him. Now his eyes was rolled back in his head, and he had organs that weren't doing great. And all of a sudden, his eyes opened. He started squalling and said, "Please forgive me. I have taken my life for granted." And he lifted up. He had a divine awakening. 3 weeks later, he got his mom to take him to buy a suit. He got his driver's license, and he came to Unity every week. That's who we are. This is what we do. It's more than coming in and enjoying and singing the peace song and that kind of stuff and having someone up front keep you awake for now 28 minutes. It's about a teaching that is transformative. It's about everywhere we go, we are light carriers and we bring life. And there isn't any situation too great or too powerful that we can't walk into it. Yes? And let me just be clear. When it comes somebody's time, dying is natural. It's not a failure. So we don't do metaphysical malpractice, but we always go for the big enchilada. Yes? So there is that energetic space. So you're going to make your list this week. I'm going to join you on what is right with your life. What have you perceived wrong with your life? And stop taking the wrong to the photocopy machine. Just print out the right. In closing, so be aware of what you say. When people say, "How are you?" Be aware of what you speak, what you call into it, what you affirm. Yes? There was a nun in training, and they brought her out and said, "Okay, tell us how it's going in your silence. You get 2 words." She said, "Hard bed." They said, "You're not getting it. Go back in silence." She stayed another month. She came out. "How's it going now?" 2 words. Cold food. You're still not getting it. Go back into silence. Come back out in a month. She comes out. "So, how's it going now?" She goes, "I quit." And they said, "Wonderful. You've done nothing but complain since you got here." Be the light. Be the light. Be mindful of what you declare, of what you keep printing copies of, and allow yourself to feel the wealth of who you are. This great, magnificent, awesome being in a human suit. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.